Happy Easter and happy April Fool's Day from Hollister, Missouri. This is Paranormal Science Lab, and this is a recap of our haunted weekend getaway at the Ye Olde English Inn in Hollister, Missouri. It's been quite a weekend, and I'm always amazed at the beauty of this place. If anyone listening has the opportunity to stay here, you need to. Just a little background. The inn was built in 1912, basically the first building in the county with electricity and indoor plumbing. It was first effort of William Johnson to build up this mining camp into a town. And in part, what they did is all of the buildings downtown are in an English Tudor style. And so we are sitting in what looks like an old English hunting lodge. And it just takes your imagination away. There have been a variety of things that have happened here, including a suicide by a guest, being distraught, and as well as a accidental murder happening here, not exactly accidental, but in a building next door that was a saloon. The saloon keeper, who was called Popcorn Jack, had a running feud with a guy who would go down the street and spit on his windows, and he threatened the guy that he was going to shoot him if he spit on his windows again, and apparently the guy did. They carried the man into the building here. It was the middle of winter in a snowstorm, and this was before the highway came through. They called for an ambulance out of Springfield, Missouri, and were told due to the weather they couldn't get there until the next day, and the fellow passed away. There's also a tragic story of a little girl. Her name is Laura. She drowned in the river just beyond the inn here when she was 3, and she's seen in the inn quite often, playing on the stairs, running up and down the hallway, and actually standing in guest rooms and crawling into bed or yanking on people's ankles. And so she is a frequent visitor. The original owner, Mr. Johnson, seems to be here, and he seems to be overlooking the place. And he's always asking for the manager and approaching employees, and they at first think that he's a living person, and then realize that he is dressed in period clothing and a derby, and realize that it's not a guest. And they've had employees who've actually quit and left the building when they realized what happened over the years. So it's quite an interesting place. There's another suicide that happened at the train depot just across the street. No one really knows what happened. And but an old fellow that would sit and whittle on a stick every day, passing time, just one day walked out onto the train tracks and laid down and let the train run over him. And no one ever did figure that one out. And the most recent death here is another sort of tragic situation. Former owner and his family were living here, and the owner became very ill. In fact, was restricted to a hospital bed. And one evening, it was right around Christmas, in fact, their 18-year-old son, Nick, came down ill and laid down in his room, and they later found him passed away, and he'd had appendicitis, and his appendix burst. And there are EVPs in the building asking, "Where's Nick?" Asking about Nick. And Nick's former room is very active, in fact, so active that they do not set it up as a guest room. It's used as storage. And every time they've tried to rearrange the room or repaint it, get it ready to use as a guest room, activity bites and causes the workers to refuse to go into the room. Last night during our investigation, we had audio and camera set up in Nick's room, and before anyone ever went in there after setting it up and then leaving, a couple hours later, it's noticed on the monitor that the camera is now aimed in a different direction than it had been set up. Replaying the tape, we were able to show that no one had entered the room, but the camera turned almost a full 90 degrees away from the area that it was pointed at. And there appears to have been movement with some of the other items in the room at the same time that were in frame. So it wasn't just something happening behind the camera. And so the conjecture was, well, did someone not want something to be seen in there? Or, on the other hand, did they want to be acknowledged that they were there? My gut feeling is actually that they wanted to be seen. They wanted us to know that they were there. That room has a pretty heavy feeling, and several people throughout the night had headaches, disorientation, and not feeling well after being in that room. And so that's very interesting. We also had multiple occurrences of people seeing shadow movement. One in a hallway, just looked like a shadow form, turn a corner and walk away quickly, and as if going about their business. Another instance was on a second floor landing, and that's where I'm sitting right now. This is an area where another apparition is seen from time to time. They describe him as an angry man. He seems to be distraught or upset, not necessarily angry at other people, and will walk down the stairs. Several people were sitting in this area before the investigation started, and 2 different times someone saw what they thought was someone walking across the other side of the landing and turn, and there was no one there. A third occurrence was someone actually standing on the mezzanine looking down into the lobby area and seeing what they described as a light shadow, not really a shadow person, but a lighter colored shadow walk out from the main desk clerk area and stop and then retreat. And they said it almost seemed like playful behavior, like a child. And so we're not sure if that was Laura or not. So it was definitely an interesting evening. We had some other anomalies that occurred. We haven't had a chance to review evidence yet, of course, and some of the guests who stayed with us are still here getting up and getting around for the day. And we had a wonderful dinner last night as part of the event. The Downing Street Poorhouse, P-O-U-R, house is in the building, and it is in the style of an English pub. And they have just absolutely world-class food. In fact, one of the chefs partakes in cooking competitions across the nation and has won multiple events and classes in national competitions. So the food is award-winning and just delicious, and the portions are to die for. They are very generous. So if you ever get to this area, certainly check out the restaurant. It's well worth the price for lunch or dinner here. Plus, they have a very nicely stocked bar, which, ironically, when the building first opened, was an ice cream parlor. So it was an ice cream fountain. And it's quite a building and lots of activity. we just wanted to give you a little recap of what happened last night, and we'll have another event on June 30th and another one on November 3rd, with potentially more dates coming. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact the Inn directly, or contact us either through Spreaker or through our website, ParanormalScienceLab.com, or Facebook, Paranormal Science Lab, and we would be happy to answer any questions and help you get your reservations, because it is a very unique and almost one-of-a-kind haunted experience. If you're looking for that authentic haunted inn that you want to stay at and don't necessarily want to pay some of the outrageous prices at some of the famous sites, including some that are within driving distance of Hollister, this is well worth your time, and you're going to enjoy your stay one way or another. So happy Easter, happy April Fools, and happy birthday to Alex, our team member, who is here celebrating his birthday on top of the other holidays. So we thank you very much for listening, and we are going to try to be doing some more podcasts a little more regularly. We kind of taken a little time off for family events, and so we're going to get back at it and keep you informed of what's going on. Thank you, folks.